Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast today. I'm Josh Evanoff. He is the one and only Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. UFC, whole lot of Bellator, a lot of MMA talk on this one. Before we get into that and more, I'll talk to you guys about Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy was founded in January 2017 to be the best gaming drink in the world. Built the premium stack of the former delicious energy and focus drink. It's designed to replace non-healthy energy drinks, coffee, and even traditional pre-workouts. So we're going to use sugar-free and it's loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, and nootropics. They designed Rogue Energy for the emerging professional competitive gaming market and continues to have fantastic carryover and success in students, athletes, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to optimize their mental and physical performance. If you want 10% off your order, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. Use code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off of all your energy needs. This Saturday night, UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Angel, my God, we got some top 10 middleweights. Jared Cannonier, Kelvin Gastelum. Obviously, Cannonier making his return after his loss to Robert Whittaker in Abu Dhabi in October of last year. And he's taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Both these guys coming off of losses. In fact, Kelvin coming in with many more losses. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. Now, that's not entirely indicative of like his entire resume. Obviously, the fact that those 4 guys they lost to, Whittaker, Hermanson, Till, and Adesanya, are all top 5 guys in the division. The only top 5 guy that he's not fought in at this point is Jared Cannonier, who had just said, he'll be meeting him on Saturday night. So, my man, very interesting fight here. Very close to a pick'em as far as betting odds go. What are some of your keys to victory, and who do you got on Saturday night's main event?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, and I think everybody's kind of mentioned it leading up to this, is what Kelvin are we going to get? What Kelvin's going to show up, right? Like you mentioned, when we talked about this, and every time we've talked about Kelvin since then, we've been, you got to look at the losses, right? Obviously, there's a Adesanya fight, banger of a fight. Could have even maybe won that. The Darren Till, obviously a split decision. The Jack Hermanson one is the only one that I think is bad because it was a first-round heel hook, which, Jack Hermanson has kind of had this steady kind of climb. He did lose in recent time to Marvin Vettori, but obviously Marvin just fought for the title. So it just goes to show, like you said, it just goes to show where the competition at. He fought Ian Heinisch, which we went into that fight saying like he has to win it, and he did. That was the guy he had and should have won and beat. He fought Robert Whittaker, which obviously now we know Rob's gonna fight against Izzy. It's kind of set in stone. Like we know it's gonna happen at some point, hopefully this year. And obviously Paulo Costa was originally signed to this card, and well, his whole time of craziness is still kind of ongoing. It hasn't ended, and we're here with Jerry Cannonier, who, well, for what it's worth, ever since making the switch, looked pretty good. Had a pretty good fight against Robert Whittaker. Nothing insane, not the greatest performance. Obviously, didn't come up on top. And I'd say this is the third best person he's faced. Obviously he had Jack, and it's no disrespect to Anderson Silva, but Anderson Silva's not anywhere near where he's been way back in his prime. But it's been Jack Hermanson, which obviously he got that win in 2019. We were well aware of that, and obviously the Robert Whittaker fight that happened last year on that Habib Gaethje card, which ended up losing. Now he's fighting Kelvin, former title challenger. Let's see if he rises up to the occasion. I think that's the big thing. Is he going to keep rising? He's 37 years old. I mean, his run at the title is really short. He has to win this fight here to get back on track real quick. Obviously, if he would have beat Robert, he would have been deep in the conversation, and maybe he would have had to fight maybe one more name or would have been given to him. Who knows, right, how life goes. But as for me, I think, Kelvin could take some shots, man. I don't know if he's going to be able to take Jerry Cannonier shots. I hope so for his sake, so we have a banger fight. I think this fight has a lot of potential to be good. And like I said at the start of my statement, I think it's just depending on what Kelvin comes out. I think he needs to come out, look good, have pressure, be tough, be inside. Don't get stuck outside. Don't get stuck outside of just in that kind of space in the pocket where it gives Jared enough space. Like really have pressure, do some pressure wrestling, take him down. Don't try to make it a fight, if that makes sense. Don't get too erratic. I think are his keys to victory.
Yeah, for sure, man. And as far as the fight goes, I mean, you kind of just said it all there. In terms of um, the thought process going in, it is entirely which version of Kelvin Gastelum is going to show up. Obviously, we've seen him in, I mean, like I said at the start of the show, 4 out of 5 losses. 4 out of his last 5 fights have been losses. Really, only the Adesanya fight was competitive as well. I mean, Whitaker 50-45'd him. I thought Till took all 3 rounds. It wasn't a very exciting fight, but he clearly took all 3 rounds. Hermanson submitted him early. He probably should have won the Izzy fight. He nearly got a finish multiple times, but he just couldn't get it. And he's taking on a guy in Cannonier, man, that it's weird because he's only had – it's going to sound weird when you look at the names he's beat. David Branch, Anderson Silva, Jack Hermanson, and obviously Whitaker. He obviously fought him but did lose. It's kind of tough thinking about it, but through the lens of he's not fought another top 5 guy outside of Hermanson. And even that Hermanson fight, I'm not sure if you remember that one, Angel. Hermanson pretty clearly took round 1, and then he just got cracked in round 2. And even then, I don't think that Jack Hermanson is as good as the Jack Hermanson that he is today. That fight was over 2 years ago at this point. As far as it goes, I think Gastelum's the more proven guy, but at the same time, and it sounds weird because he's only 29, he's been through so many wars, man. Obviously, the Whitaker fight was just he took a lot of damage, and that was just recently. The Izzy fight was a fight of the year contender, but he took so much damage. The Jacare fight was great, but he took a lot of damage. So on and so forth, man. He's had a lot of tough fights. If you ask me, though, when it comes to this one, it's really tough to pick for a variety of reasons. I do think I'm actually going to take Kelvin Gastelum, though, man. I'm not sure if you gave your official prediction yet, but I am going to take Kelvin Gastelum just by virtue of I think that whenever it comes to a fight like this is kind of a fight that's going to work to his advantage. Whenever he's facing these guys like Whitaker, Till, Adesanya, they're much bigger than him. They have the long stance. They're good at controlling the distance. Jared Cannonier hits like a truck for sure. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be enough to put away Gastelum. So I'm going to go ahead and take Gastelum. I think it's probably going to be pretty similar to the Heinisch win, actually. That fight, he really just took Heinisch down. He was willing to make it boring and just to get the dub, and I think that's what he may do here. Who do you got as far as like picking wise?
I think I'm I'm definitely on the same page. I'm picking Kelvin. I hadn't made an official pick up until this point right now.
Yeah.
Mid-conversation as I was thinking about it. Throughout the week, I thought about it a lot. I wasn't very decisive on it. I definitely looked into it, and I was going back and forth. I think it is a pick'em fight, though, honestly. I think either guy's capable of winning. I think Kelvin should win, though. I think on paper, if you look at what they're capable of, their accolades, who they fought, I think Kelvin should be the winner, though. It's just a reality, and I hope he realizes that reality for himself. And obviously, Jared, I hope he has a great performance as well. Obviously, I hope both these guys have a great performance, but I do think Kelvin will come out on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not necessarily anything against Jared Cannonier. I think he's one of those guys that I've loved watching him rise, dude. I remember whenever, he beat Cutelaba years ago. Whenever Cutelaba was super young, they were just fighting on the undercard of DJ against, it was DJ against Tim Elliott, and that was just an insane fight. And seeing him come up from just this guy that was a nobody at heavyweight to struggling against the top guys to get 205 and eventually making the move down to become, he's number 3 ranked right now. It's been incredible to see. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for him on Saturday, though. As far as the co-main event, though, man, this fight is a low-key banger. Very, very interesting for a variety of reasons. Clay the Carpenter Guida, former Strikeforce champion, current Hall of Famer, still doing the damn thing at 39 years of age, coming off of a win over Michael Johnson, of all people, in February. Before that, he had lost to Bobby Green, Jim Miller, but he's been consistently getting wins. Sometimes not against the highest level of competition. He's probably been out of his prime, you could argue, since 2013. But he's still doing the damn thing. He's still beating some good guys, and he's taking on the Olympian Mark Madsen. This is a guy that is 10-0, considered one of the greatest Greco-Roman wrestlers, at least, in that in that weight class, I should say. I'm not educated enough on wrestling to actually.
Probably out of his country too.
Yeah,
I think that's where it is. But I say the guy he lost to in the Olympics who got gold, pretty much got gold at every other level that included the Olympics. Talking World Cup, European, individual. Yeah, the guy he lost to was a very high level guy because he ended up coming short, ended up getting somewhere, but it's still very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'd say that makes more sense to say in that capacity. But he's taking on Mark Madsen, obviously 10-0. Not too many fights in the UFC. Obviously, he beat Danilo Bellardo in September 2019. Beat Austin Hubbard in March 2020. No fights since then. Fun fact: he also fought Patrick Nielsen, former WBA middleweight challenger years ago for some reason. I don't remember what the backstory was, but that was a fight that happened right before he got signed to the UFC. So that's your fun fact of the day. But now
It's because of
he's
the
finally
promotion, just so you know. They had a promotion where they had athletes from other sports come in that Olympian fight night. I'm pretty sure they had athletes from other sports who were trying to make the transition.
Okay, that makes more sense then.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and so as far as Mark Madsen goes, this is by far the biggest test of his career. Obviously, Clay Guida's past his prime, but will it still be enough? Angel, what is your take on the co-main?
You know something? Marco Madsen isn't the youngest guy either, sadly. He's 36 years old. Obviously, him and Clay Guida are only 3 years apart. And Clay Guida's about to turn 40 this year in December. For what it's worth, though, Clay Guida's still a tough guy, man. I mean, he's still in there. He hangs. He will. He has some finishes in there. He has some decision in there. He only really gets caught in submissions. He really doesn't get put out. I don't think. When was the last time Clay Guida got finished with punches? I'm looking at it right here. 2016 against Brian Ortega, and before that, it was 2013 against Chad Mendes. Mm-hmm. So, as far as him getting finished with punches, it'd be really hard. And I doubt, obviously Marco Madsen's way of victory is going to be that. And like I said, Clay Guida has been submitted a lot, but Marco Madsen only has one submission win, I believe. Maybe more than one. I might be wrong with that. He has a lot of decision wins, so he grinds them out a lot. So. There's obviously a clear path to Marco Madsen's victory. Obviously, Clay Guida, he's gonna have to be tough. Obviously, avoid getting submitted if those submission attacks even come out of Marco Madsen. Avoid the ground and pound. Obviously just avoiding the ground as much as he can and being active on the feet. And Clay Guida, for what it's worth, very as far as cardio wise, still very there. At almost 40 years old, still very jumpy into the third and second round, man. Still very active, and obviously I'm sure it's a mental thing for him. I need to look active. I need to jump up. I need to make this guy think I'm not tired. I'm sure that's a thing too. And like I said, it's very the path for Marco Madsen is very laid out, and obviously it's very clear what they're doing here. They're trying to give him a guy who is a kind of well-known guy in the promotion who's fought a lot, who has a decent name, who can lead him maybe into a ranked opponent at some point, or maybe a fight away from a ranked opponent, or a guy who's just outside of the rankings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And in that way, it kind of seems like this is definitely a positioning fight for Mark Madsen. Obviously, he's not. I'm not really sure. He's kind of an interesting guy in the capacity. He's too old to call him a prospect, but at the same time, his style is so dominant in a capacity through just his pure wrestling talent that he could be a contender very, very soon, but also he's too early. He's a weird guy is the point that I'm trying to make, at least as far as his career goes. So in that way, it's kind of weird that they're throwing him in this fight. Because I feel like that he'd be more getting a top 15 guy, just based off of his resume as a fucking Olympian. But and obviously the fact that he is undefeated, but he is, you can only fight the guys in front of you, and he's taking on a ancient Clay Guida. It's interesting in the way that I think Clay is still very, very active. He still has amazing cardio. If this is 5 rounds, maybe I'd feel different, but I am going to take Mark Madsen just via a dominant display on Saturday. Do you think the fight's going to be close?
No, I that's the sad thing. I really wish it was for Clay, because obviously he's a tough motherfucker, dude. He's giving us amazing fights throughout his career, and got on some wins in there, even now in the latter half of his career. I think Marco Madsen will come out here. I mean, he could just make it a decision win. Maybe there's a possibility for a submission. I don't know. I think Clay is very experienced. Obviously, he's going to be tough, but he has been caught multiple times in not very long in submissions. Maybe Marco Madsen can maybe get a submission. But like I said, Marco Madsen doesn't seem like a guy who really attacks submissions even when he uses his wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that sucks for Clay, because I've always had, and they've been doing this with Clay, man. He's been fighting those guys that are bigger names, but not, not top contenders for a while now. And that's given him the ability to get some wins. And I've always been a Clay Guida mark ever since, because like I don't want to say one of the first fights that ever gotten me into MMA, but like his fight against Diego Sanchez just years ago.
It's in the Hall of Fame, man.
They're in the Hall of Fame because of it, dude. Like it was an insane fight, and obviously him upsetting Pettis years ago, whenever Pettis was all the rage, and he just wrestled the shit out of him. And he's had some great wins, and I've been liking their matchmaking with him. They gave him, Eric Koch, who's, that was years ago, and he was past his prime. They gave him Joe Lozon when Joe was past his prime. They gave him Charles Oliveira whenever they thought Oliveira wasn't going to be anything. Isn't that funny?
Crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah, right. It is insane to think about, because they stacked them on like the Fight Pass fight, I think years ago, UFC 225. And I want to say that he was like coming off of a loss before that, or like losses out of his, like, he was on a losing streak going into that, Oliveira was. That's why they stacked him up with Guida. And then obviously he ended up winning that one, and he's not lost since that fight. Like, that was literally his beginning fight of his insane win streak that he's on now. But yeah, that's besides the point, man. I've been liking the matchmaking they've done for him for a while. I think this one's going to suck for him, though. I truly do. I think it's a really bad matchup for him. Despite that, though, Clay Guida, man, he's going to be 40, and he's had no qualms about retiring anytime soon. He's one of those guys that I'm pretty sure Clay Guida is going to be fighting forever.
Eternally.
Yeah, but as far as the card goes, outside of the main and the co-main, what are some of the fights you want to go and highlight?
I mean, we were talking a little bit before the pre-show and before we started recording. I mean, Alexander Pantoja, Brandon Royval, Josh. I mean, I mentioned to you this could arguably be the co-main, but it's opening with the card, so I really don't have an issue with it. I think they know, they're smart with that. They know it could be a banger of a fight. Obviously, Brandon. Last time we saw him, sadly, against Brandon Moreno, he had that shoulder injury. But hey, man, someone's loss ended up being someone's greatness, right? That's how life is sometimes, right? Something bad has to happen for someone. Something bad has to happen to someone, so someone else can have some greatness happen in their life, or for them to find success.
Yeah, and ultimately, I mean, this is a pretty underrated card, honestly, man. I mean, like you said, Pantoja, Royval probably, I mean, we talked about it before, should probably be in the co-main spot, but flyweights get zero respect. The winner of this fight could potentially be fighting for the title next, and I think it could be well deserved too. I mean, it just depends on whether or not they want to go the Figueiredo trilogy with Moreno. I can see why they would want to. I can see why they wouldn't want to. I think whoever doesn't, like, if they don't decide to do the trilogy, the winner of this fight is probably fighting for the title next. So it has high stakes in that way.
I mean, there's a lot of things going on, because obviously Royval had the injury, right? So obviously he'd get that. Pantoja obviously beat Brandon on on Tough, right? Opening
There's
fight. There's layers, and actually another layer is if whoever wins this fight fights Askar Askarov, right? Because obviously he's in contention. Askar Askarov took Brandon to a draw. So obviously there's a lot of guys here, man. He has history with all the guys here, so obviously there's a lot of options. It's pretty badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, flyweight's popping right now, man. I'm a huge fan of the fly. I mean, I think I talk about the flyweight division a lot. I think we do in general, just because they don't get their shine from a lot of other MMA media outlets and a lot of fans. But dude, flyweight's popping right now, man. I mean, honestly, you got Figueiredo sticking around, at least for right now. We'll see what happens. I think if he doesn't get the trilogy fight, he's probably going to move up, honestly. But I mean, Askar Askarov, like you said, Pantoja is fighting Royval this weekend. That's going to be a dope fight. Alex Perez is still in there. Kai Kara France is welcoming Garbrandt. You guys still got some vets around like Tim Elliott. You got guys like Tyson Nam out there, Amir Albazi, Suman Ishiri. It's a dope ass division, man.
And you didn't even name every prospect. I mean, there's a lot of other guys that you didn't name. It's actually crazy. I mean, you didn't mention David Dvorak, Amir Albazi. I mean, that's just two guys I'm saying off the top of my head. But that just goes to show how deep this division is right now. And all those guys have crazy records, and there's some history amongst each other. They all kind of, since for a long time there wasn't a lot of 125ers, so a lot of these guys are fighting each other at the regional scene, the lower level, and their respective native countries, right, are traveling to fight because they couldn't fight people of this weight class a while ago. But now the division's grown a lot, and now there is 125ers that you can get more easily and find guys around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm really glad they decided to keep that. I mean, I think I've said this before, but I can't believe UFC thought about cutting this division. In terms of competitiveness, it's right up there at the top. As far as obviously it doesn't have like the talent level of bantamweight. It doesn't have the name power of a lightweight. But damn, dude, this division, I mean, we talked about it before, like years ago. If DJ was gone, this belt would be hopping around, bro. And it has been. And I love me some Brandon Moreno. I don't know if he'll be champ by this time next year. There's just so many good guys in the division.
But hey, man, whoever's king on top, though, dude, that'll just show his greatness, right?
Yeah, for sure. And obviously right now that's Brandon, but who's to say that next year it's not, Pantoja? Who's to say it's not Askar Askarov, so on and so forth.
Or another guy.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
I'm telling you, man, the Alex Perez renaissance, it's coming.
Right.
But anyways, right? I had a lot more hope for him whenever he fought Figueroa, but he got destroyed. Anyways, as far as the rest of the card goes, Chase Sherman taking on Parker Porter. Not much to say about this one outside of the fact that I love me some Chase Sherman. I love me some Vanilla Gorilla. I'm glad he's back in the UFC.
Is that at heavyweight? Did I read that right?
Yeah.
Okay, he's making the weight change officially? Or is it just a one-off? Like, has he fully decided to make the transition to heavyweight? Because wasn't he fighting at light heavyweight prior to this?
Are you referring to Parker Porter or Chase Sherman?
Chase Sherman.
Chase Sherman's always fought at heavyweight, I think.
Really? I could have sworn he had a couple
I know
bouts
Parker Porter used to fight at light heavy.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah, well, he fought John Jones like years ago, like in John's like second or third fight.
He's like, fuck
it's gotta be so depressing.
Hey,
I don't want to shit on the guy, but isn't that just like kind of depressing if you're Parker Porter?
Dude,
like you fought John Jones years ago, and now you see how his things going on, and you're just fighting Chase Sherman.
I forgot who it was, but it was this one guy. There was this fighter who introduced Connor. It was Connor's debut, Chad Mendes' debut, and he debuted some other big name.
You're talking about Mark. I think you're talking about Marcus Brimage.
Yes, it was like It's like Marcus Brimage has had the toughest of times.
Yeah, he fought, off the top of my head, he fought Connor, got knocked out, obviously. And then he fought, who else did he fight?
Mendes.
Cody Garbrandt, and then Jimmy Rivera. Those were the three.
Really? I thought he did Mendes as well.
Nah, apparently not. I'm looking at his wiki right now. He's 7-8 right now. He actually just fought, like, in July 30th. He faced Kyle Bochniak.
What promotion, just out of curiosity?
XMMA.
Okay.
I heard about this card, yeah, because they had Ben Saunders fight Ramsey Nijem.
Ben Saunders, that's something I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah. Kyle Bochniak doing the damn thing, though. He's got 2 wins since leaving the UFC.
Hey, good for him. He's going to try to make his way back, right?
I can't believe they cut him, though. I thought that was a really bad decision. We're getting off topic here, but yeah, I love me some Kyle Bochniak, especially after the Zabit fight. We'll always love that man. But, I mean, as far as the rest of the card goes, man, I mean, we also got some Brian Kelleher. He's coming back. Roosevelt Roberts, he's coming back. Shout out Sasha Paletnikov doing the damn thing, opening up the main card. Is there any other fight you want to go and highlight, or to cover them all?
Obviously, you highlighted Roosevelt Roberts. Obviously, he's taking out the boy Ignacio Bahamondes, who had that crazy finish last year on the Contender Series. Came up short on his debut, but could have had it. Banger of a fight. And on top of that, his comrade, who was also on that Contender Series card, is also on this fight. It's actually kind of crazy that they've kind of fought twice now on the same card, I think, or close in time. Luis Saldana, he'll be taking on his next opponent in Austin Lingo. Obviously, he made his debut off the Contender Series. He beat Vince Murdoch, actually, which is actually the crazy one. Third round finish. And then came on, beat Jordan Griffin with a good decision. Now he's going to take on Austin Lingo this Saturday night. Hopefully he can make it 2 in a row for UFC. He's 30 years old. Obviously, he's not on the younger end, but he's not really old either. At featherweight, he has some time, and he's fought twice this year already. So, obviously, if he keeps his ball rolling, kind of on a good pace, man. So, do your thing.
For sure, man. But overall, not the, it's an all right card. It's definitely one that's really top-heavy, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The prelims are pretty barren, and honestly, that's because a couple of fights have ultimately.
Come on, you don't think William Knight, Fabio Serrano aren't going to give us a banger of fight? That's another one we didn't highlight.
I mean, I love me some Fabio Serrano, man. You know that.
But yeah, no, you're right. Some stuff has fallen out. I was just saying, shit happens, man. There was a lot of withdrawals. There was some visa issues. But it was mainly withdrawals. There wasn't anything, no injuries or something. And by the way, we're recording this on a Thursday, so shit can still go down.
Oh, 100%. But 2 of the fights I was really looking forward to on this card, Abdul Hazak El Hassan, because I will always root for that man. It's fucked up.
He's fighting soon. He was supposed to be on this card.
against Antonio. What's it? Nito? I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name.
Braga Neto, something like that.
Yeah, that's a tough ass fight for him. Because that dude is a gold medalist at the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship. Amazing jiu-jitsu. He submitted Anthony Smith all the way back in 2013 on Fuel TV.
Also, he's fucking huge, dude. He's 6'3". I think he might be taller than 6'3" because I saw a picture and I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Dude, they gave Pure, and to be fair, he hasn't fought in 5 years, but they're still giving Pure.
Why is that? What happened? Did he want to go back to jiu-jitsu for a while?
I think he's just, from what I understand, he's just been training jiu-jitsu. I think he had one fight scheduled. I think that was against Deron Wynn, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He's supposed to fight Deron Wynn in last year, but he pulled out due to undisclosed reasons. But yeah, from what I can see, this was only his fight that was been booked since 2017.
It looks like they're setting him up pretty well though against Abdul Razak Hassan.
I still cannot believe that he lost to Jacob Malkoun. That wasn't even close.
Well, dude, it's been the last 3 fights. I mean, not to get too much into it, but it was the Munir Lizez, Chaos Williams, and Jacob Malkoun. And who the fuck knows what's gonna happen?
Well, see, that's what happens.
That's in 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to talk more about that when that comes around.
Well, and
that banger of a card.
That's what happens whenever you have to spend 4 years out of your prime due to some legal issues, which turned out to not be real. So, due to nothing wrong. So, anyways, that's besides the point, though. And then he started missing weight too. So it's been a tough thing for that man. And then my girl Liana Jojoa, she had to pull out due to visa issues. So that's
and she hasn't looked great either recently.
What do you mean?
Dude.
She's gonna be champ. I'm telling you.
She's gonna be champ. I might be champ soon then.
What do you mean she hasn't looked great, bro? Come on, she beat Diana Belbita. Come on.
Where is she now? When did she last fight? Exactly.
She beat Hannah Goldie.
Okay, that was a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Okay, but that was an opening of a card.
Well, hey, dude, she beat your girl, right? So she's quality. She's quality.
Hey, man, it happens. That's how life goes, though.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, that's to cover that whole card. Definitely. This run of cards has been, and I think I don't want to dog any one card because we've had some good ones, we've had some bad ones. I feel like just because we've had we came off the McGregor high, I'm curious if you're feeling this too, that it's kind of a little bit harder to get up for these types of cards.
Now that I love the sport more, and a while back I used to be more damn, this card is shit. I really used to shit on cards hard. No, but you know what I mean.
I know. I just thought.
Now it's I find more stuff to appreciate. I think for the general audience though, that's the only thing that kind of sucks for them, But that's why we're on here, man. That's why we try to sell you on some of these people, some of these guys that are good and can put up bangers of fights. Because some of these guys, for example, I mean, Brandon Moreno wasn't headlining each card. Brandon Moreno was not the main event of each card. Just to give you, Davidson Figueiredo wasn't either. A lot every guy at some point wasn't on the main card. They all start out somewhere, and they start out, on the prelims, early prelims. So we give you those guys to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and I don't mean to necessarily shit on them because I guess I probably could have phrased that better. It's partly oversaturation of they have to have a card almost every week.
Oh yeah.
Obviously they took off last week, but you know the point that I'm making. And then also just the fact we have these pay-per-view cards where it's they have fans in the crowd. They're always so stacked because every pay-per-view has to be stacked.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And look, it does slow down because I'll tell you this, as far as because when we come back, it's going to be the Anthony Smith versus Span, right? Or actually, no, it's Barbosa, Giga, which that's a good card, but not the general audience is not going to care for that.
Not at all.
Brunson Till, I think there's some stuff to look forward to there. Obviously, the European, people are going to love that. And then after, for me, when I think it's going to get a little difficult for them is after the Bolt card, because that is Santos Walker, Rodriguez Dern, Arlovsky, Carlos Felipe. But then they pick it up back with Costa Vittori, hopefully. And then obviously the pay-per-view, that's going to be bright and early in the morning with Blachowicz and Teixeira.
I'm just really looking forward to 266, man. I've talked about it before. I'm so hyped for 266. I mean, that's such a good card, man. That is such a damn good card. But as far as I think we spent went a little bit over the time expected than for UFC, but we got a couple of Bellator cards, my man. Obviously last Saturday night, I can't remember. Yeah, Bellator was actually on a Friday. I apologize.
Yes.
I know that they've been going back and forth on having them on Friday and Saturday, but regardless, this one was on last Friday. Gegard Mousasi making it look easy. Against John Salter. Obviously, going in, we knew that John was a talented guy, but definitely more inexperienced, to put it lightly. I mean, Gegard's had 57 fights, but even more just the inexperience, he had less tools in the toolbox. Gegard just ended up outlasting him and getting the finish in the third round, man. What are your thoughts about this, about his performance on Friday night? I keep almost saying Saturday. His performance on Friday night, and then also the fight that's going to be next for him as well, against Austin Vanderford.
I mean, obviously, it's Gegard fucking Mousasi, man. We talked about it, man. We talked about how he's gonna dictate the fight, and obviously, the first round, I was kind of like, there was some thought, right? There was some thought. There was some things that crossed your mind in that moment, but I'm like, no, he'll rally back, and obviously, he rallied back, came out, did his thing in the second, closed it out in the third, how he should have, and he came up on top, right? Obviously, the ground and pound finish, and there's clearly levels of this shit, man, and Gegard Mousasi was just a level above John Salter.
Mm-hmm. For sure, man. It was a super impressive fight, and I mean, we can go ahead and move into his next fight, which I'm honestly, because I'm going to this one, it was a bit more of a layup. Not really a layup necessarily, but we knew John Salter, he's 36, he's pretty much peaked at this point in his career. His peak is kind of being a top 5 guy in Bellator. That's not a bad place to be in, but that is just the reality of his career. Now he's going to be fighting Austin Vanderford next. This is a guy that I feel has been extremely, I don't want to say disrespected because of his association with his wife and Paige Van Zandt, but I'll say he's undervalued. And obviously he's next up. What do you think about that fight next?
I mean, it's a good fight. Obviously, he's gonna come out, do his thing. Obviously, wrestling heavy background, right? And obviously, that whole team out there, they got multiple guys. I mean, Yaroslav Asimov is one of his teammates. There's another guy in there who I can't think is also a teammate who works really closely with them, who's also in Bellator, who also kind of has a wrestling like background, but I'm pretty sure he fought not too long. I can't think of who it is. I remember hearing the name in conversation. But yeah, man. I mean, it's a good matchup. It's a hard fight for him. It's a hard fight for Mousasi, I think. I think grapplers are always going to give Mousasi a difficult time. Obviously, Gegard, obviously getting older, is obviously not helping him anymore. He's 36 at this point. He's going to turn 30. He just turned 36 actually at the start of this month. He's going to turn 37 next year. There was talked about him moving up in weight, but obviously he talked about if he's going to do that, he would have to gain the weight, and it doesn't seem like a realistic thing for him at this point. And I think those days are behind him. I think he's comfortable at middleweight. And I don't know, man. I wanted to bring this up to you. I mean, as far as Gegard Mousasi, I mean, how much time do you think he has left? I mean, he hasn't lost a lot in recent time, and not at all, really. I mean, his only loss was Rafael Lovato in 2019, and he could have maybe even won that. Obviously, he ended up coming short of that. Yeah, I think he could have won it in some capacity. He's capable of winning that matchup.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, I thought you meant just.
I'm not saying
that specific
fight.
I was like,
no. I'm saying he was capable of winning that fight. Like he could win that matchup.
I'll give you that one. And well, I'll say this also. I thought he lost to Lyoto in the rematch back in 2019. But that's regardless. That's besides the point.
That's besides the point, though, because we're talking about him losing. He's actually getting finishes, actually coming out here and getting wins. And like I said, before that Rafael Lovato fight, you have to date back to fucking his years in the UFC in 2015 when he lost to Uriah Hall with a freak spinning back kick, and you gotta, it's been forever. So you really have to hunt down his losses, and if he's being this competitive, I guess it's kind of difficult to say when he's going to retire, right? I think it's once he really doesn't fight to his capacity or to his level.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely it could be either that or just he's going to retire whenever he feels like fuck it, I've done enough. Like
but man, it seems Bellator, like he has, man. It seems like he has.
Yeah, and like this is I brought up the Austin Vanderford fight because like. That's a guy that's 11-0. He's a young guy. He has some great wins under his belt. I don't see him even having a chance against Gegard. And I think he's a clear number 2 in that division. Like, that's got to be a little bit depressing. Because, like, I mean, if you look around in that division, man. I mean, you got John Seltzer, who just lost, Vanderford, who's going to be fighting next, and I think he's way overmatched. Fabian Edwards, who just lost to Vanderford. Johnny Evelyn, who's 9-0, but he doesn't have any great wins under his belt. Castillo Venstinas, who is pretty good, but is not a great. He's a terrible matchup. Like, Gegard's a terrible matchup for him, I should say. Charlie Ward, who's he's known for getting murked in the UFC. So I don't like that division at all. So I think he's truly just going to retire whenever he's like, you know what? I've made enough. Like, I've made enough money. I've done
he's
all
made
the
a lot
things
of money, man.
Yeah, I'm sure he's cashing some checks at Bellator, dude. Like, and here's the thing: it's like unless he moves up to light heavyweight, there's no real challenge for him there. Because he's already. I mean, Rory was an interesting challenge whenever Rory moved up to middleweight. But Rory's gone. He's fighting in PFL now, and he's back at 170. Rafael Lovato can't fight anymore. Leoto's back at 205. Douglas
He's trying, though. He's trying to come back. Still.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Douglas is down to he's going back down to 170. There's no real interesting fight. And Alexander Shlemenko is coming back to Bellator. I think that would be interesting if Shlemenko and Gegard fought again. Because if I remember correctly, I remember thinking that Shlemenko won that fight. But that was also years ago, so I could be misremembering. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting whenever he does decide to hang it up.
You know what I don't think could happen?
Huh.
I think Yaroslav Amosov could make the move up to 185 and become double champ in that division. I think he would defend the title once. He would become, what is he right now? I can't think of his record.
27-0?
27-0. Okay, he defends the title. He becomes 28-0. He moves up, ties the record with Habib, and he beats Gegard Mousasi to become 29-0. Double champ in Bellator.
That's possible, but I think Gegard would be I don't want to say it'd be a bad matchup for him, but I think he'd be too big, honestly.
I think he'd be he would have to put on the weight pretty well, but but the team would obviously come up with that, and I'm sure they would talk quite in advance with him, like, hey, would you be interested in the idea of moving up and fighting Gegard? And I think that'd be a bad matchup for Gegard if he were to put on the size well.
Yeah, and I mean, look, as far as that fight goes, that would be interesting. I think that would be competitive, but I'd also think it'd be really funny to me, the fact that that'd be like, the third champion that's moved up from 170 to challenge Gegard. That'd literally be the third guy.
That shows, though, right? That shows there's levels.
Well, hey, maybe third time would be the charm. It's possible.
That's what I'm saying, man. You got to try. You got to fucking try.
Yeah, fair enough. But as far as moving on down the card, because we spent quite a while on Gegard, co-main event, Andrzej Korshkov, Sabah Homasi, really just dominating him. Actually, this one was not even competitive. 30-27, 30-26, 30-26. This fight, my man, you really just go ahead and, obviously Korshkov is moving back into the rankings of this one. Does this win get you motivated at all for a potential matchup against Yaroslav Amosov?
Oh yeah, I mean he has a lot of good attributes that I think could give Yaroslav an interesting fight, and obviously Yaroslav is beatable, man. He's been taken to some split decisions. I mean, our boy Logan Storley, who's fighting, what is it, tomorrow night? Or is it tonight? I can't even think anymore. Okay, tomorrow night, yeah, tomorrow night. And he
tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night, and he's taking on Logan Storley, or Logan Storley's fighting, and he took him to split decision. I mean. And he's a guy who only had, at that point, 11 fights in his career, came primarily from a wrestling background in college. A lot of people talk very highly of him around in the gym as obviously being one of the better wrestlers. And, yeah, I mean, there's obviously, he's definitely a beatable guy, and he's had multiple split decision wins throughout his career. So he can eke one out. Anybody can eke one out to do it right.
For sure. And I mean, I've always been extremely high on Korshkov. Like I said last time on the show, it was really just a Benson Henderson fight. I mean, it's easy to forget, but Benson was hella hyped up going into that fight, man. He was coming off of wins against Masvidal and Brendan Thatch, and Thatch is super hyped up. I also thought he beat Cerrone in that fight. His fight before that, he could have easily been on a 3-fight winning streak, all like against really good guys. And he went in there and he got his ass kicked by Korshkov, who was mostly unknown at the time. So yeah, I'm super high on that kid. And I think a fight against Yaroslav would be interesting. But as far as the real main event for this fight, like for this card, Rufon Stotts defeating Magomedov. Holy shit. That is one of my favorite fights of the year so far. Just a grappling masterpiece between a dude who's like obviously a former 2-time NCAA champion and just a dude from Dagestan. That's his greatest attribute, because there's no bad wrestlers from that fucking area. Overall, man, just an absolute amazing fight. I know it's not a part of. Normally we recap the main and the co-main, but I just got to ask you this: Rufon Stotts versus Sergio Pettis seems like it's going to be next. What do you think about that fight?
Banger. I love it.
Fair enough. I mean, that's really the only way that you can go ahead. The only thing you can say about it, man. I very much lean towards Rufon Stotts, but dude, Sergio, he's turned a corner. He turned a corner quite a while ago. It's just kind of evolving his game. So I'm still very impressed with Sergio, but I do think that's a bad matchup for him, man. I know they're also training partners, so it's going to be weird in that capacity, but
hey, man, that's how life goes, though. That's how life goes.
Yeah, but as far as moving on the card, man, what are some of the other fights you want to go and highlight on that one?
Dude, Josh, I told you, man, I missed it. I was watching PFL. I was you were on the Bellator side, and I was on the PFL side.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's right. My bad. So I'll go ahead and I'll take care of this one, my man. I'll take care of this one. Davion Franklin, remember the name. I said 2 years ago, whenever this man was debuting on the post-limbs. No, you heard me correct. Not the prelims, the post-limbs. Bellator used to do this thing where they would have the fights, they would have the main event, and then they'd have 2 or 3 fights afterwards. I don't know why they did it, but they did it.
That's weird.
He was one of the post-limbs. And I said, before his debut, I was like, keep an eye on this kid. He's one of the fucking Jackson Wink scholarship guys. Keep an eye on him. And he won that night via knockout. Here we are. He took on a 15-0 guy against Everett Cummings, undefeated, knocked him out in 21 seconds. This kid is now, I don't know the exact ranking right now, but he is very high up there, and he's still very, very young. And I'm telling you, man, remember the name, Davion Franklin, bro. Remember the name. He's ranked number 7 as of now. He called out Jake Hager afterwards. I think that's a phenomenal fight, man. I think that is a phenomenal fight.
Boy Jack Swagger.
The boy Jack Swagger, man. He's doing some fun stuff in AEW, but it's easy to forget he's still 3-0 in MMA. And he's looked pretty good. His wrestling's looked phenomenal.
He called out Fedor.
Honestly, I thought that fight made a lot of sense. But I get why they didn't do it. But yeah, man, I'd be hyped for a Jake Hager versus Davion Franklin fight. Jake Hager, because he is still, it's easy to forget, man. We all talk about like the WWE stuff with him, the wrestling stuff, but like this is a guy that if he had not, he's an interesting what if. You know, people are like, what would happen if Brock Lesnar went into MMA whenever he was like in his 20s or whatever, like his early 20s. It's not the same thing with him, but he was very, very good as an amateur wrestler. He was an All-American, and he was just like made it to the NCAA Championship. He didn't win, but I believe he ranked in the top 5, like finished top 5. He was an All-American. He set the record at Oklahoma for most pins in a single season. Dude was phenomenal, and he's finally picking up MMA like hella late, but he's still pretty damn good. He's ranked number 8 at this point, so I'd like to see that fight next. Pam Sorensen, the former Invicta champ, picked up a win. I mean, it wasn't entertaining, nor was it definitive, but she picked up the win against Roberta Samad. So good for her. She's ranked number 10 now. You know, that's cool. That's honestly it. It's these Bellator cards. They're never like super. This is the thing that I actually will give Bellator props for. They're very much not long cards. And this is something that, like, my main criticism of UFC, like, is the fact that, A, they will do too many cards to the point where like, it's kind of devalued. But also the fact that they will have 14 fights deep. And that kind of, like, it's a little bit of a drain when you have that many fights. Bellator, typically, like, 7 fights. I think that's a perfect sweet spot, dude. Perfect. Also, because whenever you're covering a long fight card live, I have a hate towards those because I've covered some really long fight cards.
Dude, and sometimes it gets drawn out too if the fights get cut out, because obviously they get their set time right for the card to last, so they really draw out a card. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but was it that Corey Sandhagen or TJ? It might have been the card after, dude. That was extremely drawn out. I was like, holy shit, are we gonna get to the fight, like the main event? Well, dude, it wasn't very long ago.
Here's the thing, I never really realized it like until probably like 3 or 4 years into watching MMA. Like, obviously, like, those TV cards are really bad at that, but, like, pay-per-views are the fucking worst.
Well, you know why they do it. You know why the fuck they do it.
Why do they do it?
There's the money and ads. That's literally why.
But, dude, I mean, I literally had, like, you never have, like a shower thought moment? You know what I mean?
All the time, man.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
Like, I remember, like, the night after, it was after the last pay-per-view, I remember just sitting thinking, we got through like 6 games of Avalon in between fights.
Granted, though, we weren't playing the highest level of Avalon games either.
No, not at all. We were playing with a couple of dumbasses and future world champion Nate Beggs, but like, it's just. But the point still stands. Pay-per-views are structured terribly, but that's beside the point though. Like, back to like the pro side. I don't like to complain about it, but like, long fight cards really do irk me, man. Especially when whenever I've covered them live. Because, like, here's the thing. Like, I've covered Invicta cards. Like, the pacing, they seem good, right? If you're watching at home, pacing is great. But also, because the fights will last, like, I mean, they're women fights. They tend to go to, statistically speaking, they tend to go to decision. If there's a lot of them, I'll be there for like 6 hours, just like getting there, doing the pre stuff, doing the post stuff, trying to get interviews, and I'll be there for legitimately like 6 to 7 hours, depending on how long the card goes, and I would just be so fucking tired. So I've had a hate for long fight cards since then. So that's why I love these Bellator cards. They're typically very, very short and sweet, and we got another one this weekend, my man. Obviously, tomorrow night, we got a very, very interesting main event. We got the big boys. Sergey Kharitonov, I don't want to say he's one of the most underrated heavyweights of all time, but I'll say he is one of the most underrated heavyweights of all time.
He's been around for a long fucking time. It's actually kind of crazy.
And he's still only 41. That's the crazy part. He's only 41.
And he's winning.
He's still winning. I think he's probably in his prime right now. It sounds weird to say, but like, he's had 2 losses in the last 5 years. One of them was a Javi Ayala, and that was I like Javi Ayala, but that was a freak loss. It was an instant knockout, 15 seconds in, he just got caught. The other one was Linton Vassell, who I love me some Linton Vassell, but that fight was such an anomaly. Like, it was so weird. I mean, like, because Linton Vassell has been a good guy historically, but never been like exceptional, and he just dominated Sergey Kharitonov. And he's not a big guy either. He used to fight a light heavy. That was his fight moving up to heavyweight. But outside of those 2 losses, he beat Mitrione, he beat Roy Nelson, he beat Ollie Thompson, Joey Beltran, Sokaju, Chase Gormley. He's beaten some bad men, even moving on beyond that, back to like the Strikeforce Pride days. He beat Arlovsky, he knocked out Overeem. He beat Verdum, Hizzo, Semi Schilt, Murillo Hula. And he's experimented on the boxing side of things. He knocked out Danny Williams last year. He's been doing the fucking thing, dude. Like, he's a legit guy at this point in his career. He's taking on Cheick Kongo, who is also at the age of 46 having a career renaissance, dude. Obviously, he lost to King Mo back in 2015. After that, he went on a monster run. He beat Volkov, Tony Johnson, Ollie Thompson, Augusto Sakai, Javi Ayala, Tim Johnson, Vitaly Minikov. He finally got the title shot against Bader, had an eye poke, no contest, and then he ends up losing to Tim Johnson in October. His first fight since then, man. This fight, very, very interesting. A lot of layers to it. Who do you got, though?
I'm picking our boy Cheick Kongo, man. 46 years old, had a career resurgence. I mean, dude, I still love the fucking Pat Barry, fight. Like, that's the shit that I always think about. And just to think that somehow, some way, there might be some science there. Not sure what kind of science he's using.
Maybe he is a chemist, though.
Some black magic, maybe. I don't know, some wizardry. And he's winning well, man. Granted, there's a split decision win in there, but he's gotten some finishes. And obviously he's welcoming him in his return. I think he'll get it done, man. I'm gonna pick Czech Congo for this. I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna have fun. Let's pick Czech Congo, baby. 46 years old, young. 46 years young.
46 years young. You think you said it really well, man. I'm actually gonna also take Czech Congo, the beast. The beast from France, dude. I love me some Czech Congo. He's one of those guys that like. He's been around in the game for so long, and he'll never, whenever Chikonga retires, he'll never really get the respect he deserves. I really don't think that, because he doesn't get it. And you hear this said about like a lot of guys that are like, you know what, once they retire, they'll get their due. But like, I haven't heard Andre Ward spoken of in years. Like, just as an example, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Well,
a lot
that's
of
because
guys.
no one liked watching Andre Ward like that outside of people who probably like
I
Andre
loved
Ward.
Andre Ward.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough.
You're making
But
my
yeah.
point.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's so many examples, man, of just like guys like, oh yeah, once they're retired, they'll get the just due. People will see what they're missing out, but like, nah, man, Congo never will, and I don't know why. I mean, like some people are like, he used to be nicknamed Cup Check Congo because he used to kick dudes in the dick, but like he hasn't done anything bad since like at least 2010.
He's behaved himself.
Yeah, he's had some great wins, man. I mean, he beat Crow Cop. He beat. I mean, he should have beat Travis Brown. He was a point deduction away from beating Travis Brown. Obviously, the Pat Barry win, like you said, Matt Mitrione, Sean Jordan, Peter Graham, a couple of other good ones in there as well. Obviously, his most notable run was him beating just recently, like in the last 6 years, Volkov, Augustus Sakai are two of the, and then obviously Minikov was probably the best win of his career. Vitaly Minikov going into that was a former champ. He had beaten him once already, and he was 21-0. So that was probably the best win of his career, and he did that shit at 44 years of age. Like what an absolute badass, dude. What an absolute badass. I'm gonna go and take him here. I would like to see him get a title shot again. I think honestly, I thought it was a little bit bullshit the fact that he lost. He didn't lose against Fedor. It was an eye poke. And he was losing that fight, but they were literally 3 minutes in. They were 3 minutes into that fight. And he eye pokes him, and obviously it's a no contest, and they're like, all right, yeah, we're not going to rerun that fight. I'm like, that's kind of bullshit, especially after the run that he had. So I'd like to see him get that title shot back at some point, and he'll be one step closer with a win on Saturday, which I do think he will secure. Co-main event, obviously it was supposed to be Adam Boric and J.J. Wilson. J.J. Wilson did miss weight horrendously, so the fight was canceled. Yeah, again. Adam Boric getting his pay. Obviously, I feel like I should throw that in there. He's going to be paid his show money. But stepping into the co-main slot, Logan Storley, Dante Shiro. Obviously, Logan Storley, I don't want to say one of the most hyped up OG Bellator prospects, but like he was one of the first guys that like years ago they brought in. They were like, okay, you know what? We're going to let you do your thing. You take your time to prepare. And obviously, he was kind of established at that point. He'd fought in LFA and RFA. But he wasn't a huge prospect by any means. But he had the wrestling pedigree, and they're just like, all right, you take your time. We're going to give you steps up each time. And funny, I mean, I think it's funny to mention now, he actually fought Joaquin Buckley on like the undercard of like a random Bellator card years ago. And he finally was making his way up, and he gave, Yaroslav Amosov his toughest fight of his career, like you said earlier, back in November of 2020, split decision. And now he's taking on Dante Shiro, 8-2. This is going to be his Bellator debut. Kind of feels like they're giving Logan Storley, I don't want to say a gimme, because that'd be disrespectful to a guy who is 8-2. But I mean, his best claim to fame was that he went 0-2 in one championship. And that's not be disrespectful. It's just the facts. And Logan Storley is a guy that's still 28 years old, gave him the toughest fight of his career. And I feel like they're probably doing this fight just to honestly give Yaroslav like an actual potential challenge. I think they're probably going to rerun that fight if Logan Storley does win here. Do you think he does pick up the win?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, they're really, and it's no disrespect to his opponent, but they're really trying to set him up for success here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't want to be disrespectful, because I think the thing about MMA that's so beautiful and so great is that like truly it's one of those things that like, this sound mean, but the best guy doesn't win every time. Like anything,
and that's all right. And
that's not even just all right. That's awesome. I love that you can be outgunned. You can have less tools in the toolbox. You can have everything against you, and you can still pull out the win. You know what I mean? It's like whenever you're it's like in football, you see that happen occasionally, where sometimes the worst team will pull out the win. In sports like basketball, for example, it's more rare. Just if we're talking like a series-wise, because there's more games. But whenever it's MMA, man, it is truly 50-50 every single time you step in there. One punch can change everything. So I don't want to count out Dante Shiro. This is very clearly a fight for Logan Storley, though. This is very clearly a gimme, so to speak. As far as the rest of the card goes, man, what are some of the fights, if any, that you want to highlight?
Oh, man. I had it pulled up a second ago, and I just closed it. I don't know why. I done goofed, Josh. I done goofed.
I'll take over then, my guy. I'll take over. Don't worry. I'll go ahead and point out Billy Swanson, Marcelo Gome. Obviously, Marcelo Gome is mostly known for fighting in the UFC. Had a fucking rough stretch, man. He had a very, very rough stretch. That in hindsight is it is so unbearable, dude. It is really, really tough. He comes in, he beats Christian Colombo, and then he loses to Tim Johnson, only, top heavyweight in the world at this point. He loses to Arjan Bolar, who's now the one heavyweight champion. And then he loses to Sergey Pavlovich, who is still in the top 15 of the UFC. What a fucking brutal run.
That's how life goes.
Yeah, and then he got cut, and now he's in Bellator. He's picked up 2 wins since then. So, yeah, man, very, very shout out him. But, yeah, Angel, you got to pull up yet? You want to go and shout out some people?
Well, I'm sad because some of the fights that were originally on here got removed. Like, obviously, I was going to shout out my boy JJ Wilson, Adam Boric, which those guys would give us a banger of a fight. Obviously, JJ missed weight, doesn't help. Alejandro Lara, Deanna Bennett obviously got rescheduled for 266, which, I mean, also sucks. That was another fight I was going to highlight. There's been a lot of, and then, what's it called? Jeff Nielsen, Corey Mogenberg. That was supposed to be on here, but there was an issue with COVID there for Jeff. So they brought in Bailey Schoenfelder to help in with that. So obviously some of my fights that I was actually kind of excited for got removed.
Damn. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's not the best fight card.
Yeah, it's definitely a thinner Bellator card for sure.
Yeah, but hey, man, it's all cool though because they're having this one and then they're not going to have another card for roughly a month. But then they're coming back strong.
And that's good.
They're coming back strong, man.
That is good. It's good. And they're coming back real strong. And they don't even have all the fights announced for that yet either.
Oh, this is early stages, but like Adam Piccolotti, Saul Rogers is a banger. Alejandro Lara, the GOAT, taking on Deanna Bennett. Yoel Romero, Phil Davis, that one just got announced. And
Josh, they keep it going after that, by the way, too. Like, I got to give Bellator some credit. Lima MVP 2, Nemkov Johnson, Fedor Johnson, and then they top it off in November by going to Dublin with James Gallagher and Patchy Mix. But it's still a rumor. That's still not confirmed, but
this is very off topic. But since you brought it up, I feel inclined to ask about it because I don't think we talked about it on the show. What the hell do you think about Fedor versus Tim Johnson?
It's not the worst matchup they could have done, but it's definitely like, and look, you gave a lot of shit to our boy Tim Johnson last night. I'm like, dude.
No, I just said he didn't have a chance of winning, and he lost all 5 rounds.
He doesn't have a chance of winning.
He lost all 5 rounds. I was right. Why are you booing me?
He's a tough guy. I want to give that. He beat Tyrell Fortune. He beat Matt Mitrione,
and I gave him credit.
Who hasn't done it? Yeah, I know you gave him credit, but still, what I'm saying is, it's still a competitive guy for Fedor, I think. But it's a guy he could beat. That's what I'm going to say right now.
Here's the thing. Shut the fuck up. Here's what I'm saying. Look here. Listen. Okay? He is going to beat Fedor, and that makes me very sad.
No, he's not. Fuck you. Fuck you. Clip this. If anybody's out there, fucking clip this, please.
Look here. Listen. Fedor is not – he is not going to beat him. It is a bad matchup, and that's why I'm very sad that they made it.
But let me continue. There is a lot of other people they could have gave Fedor. Like they had Josh Barnett in the back, like easily being able to JDS retired. I know JDS is not fine, but I'm sure they
could have given him another legend. They could have
they could have gave him the JDS fight. Like they could have offered a lot of money. I know Overeem signed with a K1, but they don't have an issue cross promoting. They probably could have done something there. Obviously Bellator has their own kickboxing thing they do, and that could have been a thing. And I'm pretty sure they haven't done a kickboxing thing in a while either. So that would have been
I think it's dead.
It's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they could have revived it for a one-off. Bellator X K1. Main event. Fedor, and then they have a kickboxing match to co-main event that's big. Whatever it may be, right? Rico versus some. I'm just obviously making shit up, but you know what I mean. They could have gone a lot of different routes, especially since they're open to doing that. And there was plenty of people they could have chosen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, I would have taken.
They could have asked me, Josh, and it would have been a better option.
Angel, we would put you through an amazing training camp, and I think you take out Fedor too.
You be my who would be my main coach?
I'd have Nate working on the striking. We'd send you to James Krause. It'd be all cool, bro. It'd all be cool.
And we'd figure it out somehow.
We'd figure it out. Jokes aside, though, I'm glad I wanted to ask you about this, just because it's such a strange matchup. Because you can go back and look. Whenever they initially announced this fight,
well, see, the weird thing is, I almost think they want Fedor to fight after this.
Well, here's what I think they're trying to do, and I'm a dumbass, so I don't know for sure, right? But that's a given. But I think what they're probably trying to do, and this maybe even Fedor's team trying to put this through, is they're probably trying to have this fight. So that way, potentially, Fedor could fight for the title next if he wins this one. Because that obviously Fedor's, his protege has the interim belt. But I'm sure he'd be willing to take a step aside to let Fedor have one more shot at the belt.
Yeah. Who would they match Fedor up against? Would they be the co-main, the winner of the co-main on that card, Vitaly or Tyrell?
No, I mean, he'd get it. I'm saying, he'd get a title shot if Fedor won.
But he's not going to fight his
but his protege's the interim champ, remember? Bader is still the actual champ.
Oh, fuck.
So they could do a Bader versus Fedor rematch.
That's what they would do? Okay. I forgot about that.
That's my theory. I don't know anything.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I told you. I think they're trying to push him to fight one more time for the title. That's what I was kind of getting at. Okay. You kind of cleared it up, though.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, if they're trying to give him a storybook ending with him fighting for the belt against Bader, I wouldn't even hate it. Because I remember going into that fight against Bader, I was like, damn, Fedor might do the damn thing, dude. Because he looked really good in the heavyweight Grand Prix, all those years ago. He knocked out Chael. He didn't knock out Chael. He beat the shit out of Chael. I'm not sure if you've watched that fight back.
We watched that. We watched that together, didn't we?
I think we did.
Regardless, so he was doing well.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had the Matt Mitrione loss in there, which was freakish. But let's say there's a world where he wins that, right? It would have been Matt Mitrione, Frank Mir, Chael Sonnen his wins, and then it would have been leading into the Ryan Bader fight, and it would have been that wasn't looking bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. I mean, Fedor, I've been on this train for forever. Fedor is the GOAT. You won't be able to...
Hey, Habib said it, by the way. Habib said it. Did you see that?
I'm sure Habib said it because he's from Russia, but even beyond that, the only people who don't respect Fedor are these Zoomer Conor fans, that came into the sport whenever Conor was fighting.
Dude, I don't know. I see there's people who who love, and I mean love and die for John Jones, which I completely understand, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it, but also I feel like people that say it have never either watched Fedor fight or they have such a blind perception. Because I saw this on a Twitter thread literally earlier today.
Oh, a big Twitter thread? People were just going back and forth?
It was the worst. MMA Twitter is the worst thing of all time. We've
discussed this. We've discussed
this. It's terrible. The worst people of all time are there. But basically it was I think it had DJ Anderson, Habib, DC, John, Fedor, GSP.
Where did they got DC in there? No hate.
Although basically it was all those guys, right? And then they were who is the guy who does not belong here? And basically the entire comments were Fedor because he never fought in the UFC. And I'm like, no, he never fought in the UFC because UFC was considered the shit tier promotion
at the time.
his prime. Yeah.
At the time, yeah.
And then he went to Strikeforce whenever Strikeforce still had the better heavyweights. Like he wanted the better competition. That's why he fought in Japan, and that's why he fought in Strikeforce.
Well, dude, I sent you the picture, Josh. Remember a few days ago of the heavyweight Grand Prix and the names that were on there? Yeah. Fucking insanity. I mean, if you try to compare that to this, like I'm not sorry to cut you off there, but if you compare that to the heavyweight division now in the UFC, I feel like it almost doesn't. You can't almost, and I know times have changed, people have aged, different styles, right? I feel like it almost doesn't stack up against it.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I think you could argue
isn't that fucking insane?
It is. And here's the thing: is like people are like, yeah, but like the fighters are better now than they were back then. Not at heavyweight, bro. Heavyweight. I mean, you can argue Gon and you can argue Ngannou. That's about it. I think
that's
like
the first evolution, though. Those are the only guys who've evolved.
For sure. What I mean? For sure. And here's the thing: is like people like to argue, and there's no disrespect to like Stipe, and I know that like I trash Stipe a lot on this show.
If anything, he was probably the first, right? The more modern heavyweight, right?
I'd say so. He deserves some credit for the fact that he was more modern heavyweight. I think even if you put Stipe back in like 2007, he gets wrecked. Just being honest, not even 2007. I'd be like 2005, somewhere around there. Just because you got to look at pride, dude. People like to shit on Fedor a lot, and I've never really understood it because you have to be a new fan. And I'm not even that old of a fan. I've been watching since. I mean, I've watched like off and on since 2011, but I really got into it around 2014. So even then, I was past Fedor's prime. But even then, I just have common sense. Like you can just go back and look at some of those names. Like, he beat the shit out of Nogueira 3 times, who Nogueira is considered one of the greatest of all time. Beat Kevin Randall, UFC champ. Beat Mark Coleman twice, UFC champ. Frank Mir, heavyweight champ. Mark Hunt.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Arlovsky, UFC
Keep
champ.
It going.
Team
Don't
Sylvia,
stop.
a UFC champ.
Keep it going. Keep it going. Don't stop.
Rampage, UFC champ.
Keep it going. So there's more.
No, I think I ran out of them all. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on.
You can still name names, though. You don't even have to go with UFC champs, though. That's the issue.
Okay, fine. Hold on. Let me go back real quick.
Let him know, champ. Let him know.
Rampage, Chael Sonnen, and Frank Mir. Fucking Pedro Hizzo. That's a champ. That's the guy I was forgetting.
Crow Cop. All of these fucking
Crow
guys.
Cop. Jeff
Fabio Maldonado.
Brett Rogers.
Jeff Monson. I mean, these are guys who are fucking great.
Kosaka. Fujita.
Team Sylvia.
Like Sammy Schilt. Hanato Soberal. So many badass. Ricardo Arona. So many badass dudes that where it's like you're just not. You just got to be a new fan, dude. I can't talk with these people. Like anytime anybody says that like Stipe's the heavyweight like goat, I get unsatiably mad because like it's all. I'm gonna sound like a loon right now, but like it's literally all UFC propaganda. Like if they had not done that trilogy fight with DC where they were like the winner of this is the heavyweight goat, nobody would be calling Stipe the heavyweight goat. Nobody, and you know that's true. But I don't know. I think that I've ranted enough for that one. But as far as the show goes, is there anything else you want to talk about before we close out?
No, man. I think we had a good episode. Obviously excited to come back next week. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be our filler episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll have some other topics to talk about that aren't.
Actually, hold on. Never mind. No, it will not be. It will not be our filler.
Won't be. We have a
filler episode coming up soon.
I think it's the week after that. Yeah,
we say it's filler, but it's not. It's all killer, no thriller, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. That's gonna be like September-ish, like early September, like mid part, I should say. Yeah. That's not gonna be all filler. That's gonna be like our NBA/NFL like special episode, basically.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a banger because next week is Barbosa Giga, which that's fucking fireworks right there. If you're not
and then we also have
if you're not excited for that, you're fucking weak. Yeah, I said.
Yeah, and we also have future champ Jake Paul fighting
that same weekend on Sunday. So we'll get to talk about that as well, that's fucking crazy even in itself, Josh. I mean, you're excited to see
No. I'm not at all. Like I told you before, they lost. They have because like I took off my hater glasses. Like I'm done falling into the hype. There's zero chance Tyron Woodley wins this fight. And I've argued with people. I have argued with like Angel, not even just you. I've argued vehemently with like people that I know Like they're falling into the hype, and I'm like, dude, you can't do it.
We gotta get off. We're gonna have to get off so you can get more into that afterwards.
Yeah,
But let's close this out, man. Let's wrap it up, damn it.
Let's wrap it up, damn it. All right, at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Ortega_01. At Courtside Sound 1 for the podcast itself. If you guys want to follow that to get all the information about the podcast. Rogue Energy, use code Soundoff for 10% off your order, as well as Dough P, cookie dough. If you want to go ahead and get that as well, get 10% off your order by using code Soundoff. And check out for them as well. All the links to our stuff will be down below if you guys want to go and check out all that. Announcement next week, not anything relating to the show itself, but relating to some sort of Angel, I'm not gonna say it. I'm trying to think of how to phrase it without getting too into specifics.
Something exciting.
Cool. Something cool. Exciting. So be watching out for that. Something we've been working on for a while. So yeah, just go ahead and keep your eyes posted to all of our social medias. Outside of that, peace and butt grease. Mouse click.